Nelson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we should be live.
Finally, we are connecting once again, and it's long overdue. It's good that we have now found a way to work out a way to connect to one another. The Tea Party's strengths and its powers derive from our face-to-face gatherings as we the people, and the banning of such gatherings has been especially difficult for people like us. It has been for me, I know that. My name is Nelson Velez. I am the chairman of the Virginia Tea Party, a coalition for freedom. It has really been my honor to serve you guys these last couple of years. And it has been a real joy since the very beginning of this freedom movement to just be in your company. On top of that, it's been a blessing and a privilege to serve our executive board. They are the best, and time and time again, they have proven that they have the right stuff, and we're very lucky to have them. It is my hope that as we proceed with these digital events, you will come to know them as I do. I believe that it's very important for you to finally get to know these leaders that serve you. It's time that you come to know the human face, the human faces that serve you as your Tea Party leadership. The Wuhan shutdown has been tragic on so many levels, but as we Americans have been known to do, we find a way to create something positive of all that is all the bad stuff. This is our first formal venture into this kind of digital event. We're trying something that allows for our Tea Party leadership to be engaged and involved in a very public way, and to hopefully draw all the patriots together. So tonight we have a Zoom, Facebook Live hybrid that is catering to our Tea Party faithful as well as patriots all across the state via the Facebook. Please bear with us as we enter this brave new world. We're rolling the dice right now with Murphy's Law, and we're hopeful that we get through this in one piece. So we hope and we look to continue this effort tonight and also expand on it in the future. In this, our first event, we are blessed with having as our first guest, Philip Van Cleave. He is the president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League. He has been the heart of the formidable and historic Second Amendment movement. He has been in the center of the storm this past year as a courageous frontline warrior for our Second Amendment rights in Virginia. He has been relentless and effective in dealing with the all-out assaults on our rights to defend ourselves. We will have Philip Van Cleave provide an overview of the situation and the status of our Second Amendment rights at this point, and then have a question and answer period, which will be moderated by our own Brian Landrum. So while things are still running smoothly, let me introduce to you one of our fabulously talented members of our executive board. He is currently our first vice chair of the Virginia Tea Party. So anything that happens to me, he's the prime suspect. He's under 40, and so he's one of those dreaded millennials. Brian Landrum, are you ready for prime time?
Always am.
Okay, Brian, you're up to bat.
Sounds good, Nelson. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Brian Landrum. I'm the first vice chair of the Virginia Tea Party. We're really excited tonight to have Phil Van Cleave of the VCDL on to talk about the Second Amendment. There's been a lot of movement in this space over the course of the last year, and there's really been a truly menacing agenda coming out from Governor Northam and his goons that I think every Virginian should be worried about. And of course, we've had the VCDL in Virginia for a long time now, but recently they have taken the frontline action against this anti-gun agenda coming out of the governor's mansion. They've always been at the forefront, but you probably saw just a couple months ago their massive rally at Lobby Day in Richmond, which brought together thousands and thousands and thousands of pro-Second Amendment patriots from all over Virginia, many of whom came by bus, came by car, walked if they lived in Richmond. But it was truly a spectacular gathering of support for our Second Amendment rights. And Phil Van Cleave was pivotal in bringing that event together. The VCDL was pivotal in bringing that event together. And frankly, we're excited to see much, much more decisive action coming out of VCDL. So we're really excited to have them on tonight. I'll be leading question and answer. at the conclusion of this feed. So if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the comment box below the video. You can also email them to me at brian@brianlandrum.com. If you don't have a Facebook account and you're watching today, welcome anyways. And with that said, I'd like to go ahead and get started and turn the virtual microphone over to Phil Van Cleave of the VCDL. Everybody give him a warm welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, the VCDL has had sort of a history in dealing with the Tea Party. I think we're kindred spirits in many ways based upon our love of freedom. And our Second Amendment is, of course, a key part of that freedom. That's what protects all the other freedoms. We consider that the canary in the coal mine, that when that goes, the rest of it's going to go too. And the only reason our Second Amendment would go is if they wanted to get rid of everything else. It would not be, there'd be a reason for it. And that's why we cannot let that happen. That being said, we had a very bad election last November. Too many people sat on their heels and didn't go out and vote. And we know that based upon how many people voted in the presidential election versus how many got out and voted last November. That was a very, very small number of people. And we pay the price for that dearly. And basically right now, gun owners don't have anything, any sort of a firewall to put the brakes on any gun control being pushed right now in the state because the gun controlling Democrats control the House, the Senate, they control the governorship, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general positions. That's all the key positions they've got. So consequently, people standing together and fighting is all the more critical now. And it all the more proves what happened when we had that massive lobby day you were talking about, when we had between 30 and 50,000 people there. With no control, basically, we managed to kill the worst of the two bills that the Democrats had put in. And the other bills that did make it into law have all been tempered back. They're not near what they were when they went in. Basically, those efforts made the Democrats rethink what they were doing. And in many cases, the bills are significantly weaker than they were originally. Where we stand now is we have several bills that were signed into law by the governor and a few more that are headed that way. One of those is universal background checks. Now what that is they used to refer to something called a gun show loophole. Well, there was no such creature. Anything you could do in a gun show, you could do outside of a gun show and vice versa. There was no special little loophole where, if I go to a gun show, I can get around. There was nothing like that. But our opponents don't ever shy away from misleading people or whatever. They have a history of that, and this is another example. The bill as it was originally put in would have said that if you even loaned a gun to somebody and they walked out of your sight, that would have been illegal unless you had done a background check on the person that you loaned the gun to. Like if you went hunting and you gave a shotgun to a friend and said, you hunt in that field and I'll take my other shotgun and I'll go hunt in this field. That would have been under the original bill. As soon as he got out of your sight, you would have both had to do a background check. You would have to do a background check to take the gun out in the middle of the woods. Good luck, right? And maybe a deer could have wandered over and done the background check for you. And when he gave you your gun back, you'd have had to get a background check to get your own gun back that you had before you loaned it to your friend. So that was all knocked out. Now what passed says that if you're going to do a bona fide sale, that is, if I'm going to actually give a gun to Brian and he's going to give me something in return, it could be money, it could be a lawnmower, it could be anything that's tangible, then we have to go through a background check. And to do that, we need to find a dealer to go to who is willing to run the background check. And there's a fee of $15. Now, what we're telling our members is, if you're going to do this, if that's what you've got to do, if you can, time it to do it at a gun show. At a gun show, you can go to the state police and they'll run the background check for you. And the advantage of that is when a dealer runs a background check, on his books, he's going to have the make, model, and serial number of the gun that was transferred. The state police don't keep that information. They just keep whether it was a long gun or a handgun. And so for a privacy point of view, you're better to do it with the state police. So that was one that got through. Again, cut back considerably. There were other things too, even providing a gun, even giving a gun as a gift to somebody outside your family would have been a problem with the old one. This is fine. I could give a rifle to my best friend and say, hey, you know, here's a rifle as a gift, and wouldn't need a background check because I would be getting nothing in return. They passed something very dangerous. For those of you that may not even be gun owners, the next bill affects, the next law affects not only the Second Amendment, it affects the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, and the 14th. That is a red flag law bill. That is a really bad thing constitutionally. Basically, a red flag allows your guns to be taken away from you if somebody accuses you of being dangerous, that you're going to kill yourself or harm somebody else. Basically, you are guilty till proven innocent. The courts can come in and order your guns taken away from you. And you then later on finally you have no chance up to that point to confront your accuser or to say, this is baloney. That's my ex-wife. She hates me. This is all made up and I can prove it. You don't get a chance until, in this case, up to 2 weeks later, you finally get to go to court after your guns have been taken all this time. And then you, in essence, have to show to a judge or prove to a judge you're not dangerous. How do you prove that? I mean, so the judge could say, well, you own a gun. I think you're dangerous just because you own a gun. How do you prove you're not dangerous and can get your guns back? So basically, your rights have been taken away based upon an accusation, and getting them back could be extremely hard and expensive. And all of this could be fake, and usually it is. And the penalty for somebody putting you through tens of thousands of dollars with lawyers, all the stress and everything of having somebody come to your house and take your guns, a misdemeanor. Class 1 misdemeanor for the person that's caught lying. So I'm not real excited about that. They should make it a felony and throw them in jail for a while to discourage that kind of behavior. But anyhow, it was scaled back as well. Currently, as it stands, only a police officer or the Commonwealth attorney can request this. There has to be an investigation by the police to confirm that there really does seem to be something to the accusation that you are dangerous. Perhaps they'll look at things you've written on Facebook or whatever, I don't know, but they will have to investigate. There needs to be an affidavit swearing that the facts are true. And then there's a certain level of scrutiny in the courts. So it was tightened up. We have it much tighter than a lot of states do. Is it acceptable? No. This thing needs to go. But at least, again, our efforts with that huge lobby day, all this movement towards having sanctuaries, Second Amendment sanctuaries that swept the state, painted it green, all that's paid off in this. And it's going to pay off in a few other things as well. They passed a 1 handgun a month bill. The original bill they had in there said that there were really no exemptions, except, of course, for the police. They always get an exemption. While there are servants, they take the master and they give him less rights than the servant's rights. They always do that. That's like your butler telling you, well, I'm going to eat the filet mignon and you're going to eat the chopped hamburger meat. That's kind of where we always get stuck as citizens. But the law was tempered back to where it was originally when we got rid of it. And that tempering said that if you've got a concealed handgun permit, which 680,000 people in Virginia do, you're exempt. So you can buy as many guns as you wish, handguns as you wish without having to worry about it. They had a bill passed that requires you report a stolen firearm within 48 hours of being discovered. That was originally 24. It's been extended to 48. They originally wanted to make it that if you left a loaded gun out and anyone under 18 got their hands on it, that you could be charged with a felony for that. Even if this 17 or 16 or 15-year-old knew all about guns, you had trained them, they knew everything, they used them, they shot them, but if you left it out and they had their hands on it, you could be charged with a felony. That was brought class 1. So they raised the misdemeanor connection. But that was all that ended up doing. And let me see. So those were the major ones that were signed into law. Now there's 2 more that are going to be brought into law. The governor made some changes. We're going to keep our eyes on those. But one is a particularly bad bill. It allows local government to make their own gun control. So now as you're driving around and you want to go, let's say you want to go to a city council meeting in Norfolk, you have to check and see if it's legal to bring a gun into their city council meeting. Or can you open carry in their parks? Or can you carry in their parks at all? All that kind of stuff. Now they're going to have a lot of the control over this. The way the bill was originally written, it was written so that they could do any kind of gun control. They could say, well, we're not issuing concealed carry permits anymore, or there's no open carry anywhere in this city or town or county. That was rolled back, and they have only specific areas they can control. That would be like any of their government buildings they have, parks, recreation centers, and trying to think. Those are the major areas. Oh, and anything that's an event where you have to get a permit, like a parade or some kind of a big event, something that maybe blocks were cordoned off. There they could control guns again. So all of this is bad. All of this is terrible. This, however, is where the sanctuary cities that we did in November and December in sanctuary counties and localities may pay off for us. We are going to be going back to those localities and saying, you are a sanctuary. We want you to pass either a resolution or an ordinance that says you will not be taking advantage of this and passing any gun control. That means that if the majority of the localities in Virginia that became sanctuaries, which was a majority, 96% or something, agree to that, then this will be, except in a few areas, this will be something that means nothing because nobody will be taking advantage of it. The only places that probably will be Albemarle County, Loudoun County, Arlington County, and Fairfax County. Those will be the major. There'll be some cities that'll also probably take advantage of this. So, but at least it was scaled back. Nobody's going to be telling you can't get a concealed carry permit, or they're not valid, or you can't open carry. It's only going to be in buildings, parks, and special events. I say only. All that's unacceptable. But again, elections have consequences. If you don't vote, you're stuck fighting this. But we will fight. We had this kind of stuff before. In 2004, we wiped it all off the books all at once. And we will come back and we're going to get rid of this again. But we need to have the right people in government so that we have the power once more to come in and get this stuff stripped out. Lastly, they have a permanent protective order that can take your guns away during the time of the protective order. It used to be you could have guns at home, but you couldn't transport them. You couldn't buy new ones. You just you could protect yourself at home. And that we thought was perfectly reasonable. The person that you have the protective order against sure as heck shouldn't be coming to visit you on their own. But they took that away too. So you can't even possess guns. You are totally helpless if somebody takes out a protection order against you. So that's the laws, the major laws that have come in. There's a ton of them that died as well. And I won't go in, we don't have time to go into that, but there were a bunch. They wanted to, in essence, close down indoor shooting ranges, make it hard for outdoor shooting ranges to exist. There was a long list of some really evil stuff, and all of that never even saw the light of day. And again, I think that was because gun owners stood together with that massive rally. So that's where we are. VCDL is filing lawsuits. We've already got 2 lawsuits in motion. One is to allow gun ranges that are indoors to open. The governor closed indoor gun ranges under the excuse that they're entertainment. Now, training to protect your life, to learn how to use a gun safely, to make sure your gun even works if you're a new gun owner, to zero in your gun is not recreation. I'll admit I enjoy shooting, but I practice to save my life, not just for the joy of shooting. So we are suing the governor to take gun ranges, indoor gun ranges off the list of entertainments that are closed. He is desperately trying to keep the Virginia courts from hearing this case because Virginia, our Constitution and our other laws are very strong on this stuff, including Title 44, which says the governor can't touch guns during an emergency. It's right there in Title 44. So he's trying to get it moved to federal courts, and right now we are we have asked a judge in the federal courts to send it back to Virginia for it to be heard here and move forward with it. We also have a lawsuit about him taking guns away during lobby day when on the Capitol grounds he said you couldn't carry. Again, we don't believe he has that power. We couldn't get the stay. The Supreme Court chickened out. I think they didn't want to take a chance that something would happen, and they overrode his no guns policy. But that action is still alive, and we do not want to let him get away with doing what he did because he does not have the authority. So that battle is ongoing. So we can go anywhere you want with this. Questions?
Yeah, we've had a couple questions come in via email and a couple come in on Facebook Live so far. Just a reminder to everybody, if you have a question that you'd like to ask Mr. Van Cleave, you can go ahead and post it in the comment box right below this video or submit it via email. Two questions that have come in so far. The first one, really, you answered. This is from Peter Baronato. Have you heard of any organized pushback to Governor Northam's shutdown orders, legal challenges, or recall petitions? And you touched on that with regard to the lawsuits.
From the gun side, there's a lot of people getting really impatient about this shutting down businesses and everything. We're not approaching it from that angle. Ours is strictly pushing back on the gun side of it. But I think you're going to be seeing some other protests, and there already have been a few saying it's time to open Virginia back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then question from Kelly. Statistics show that less than 1% of violent crimes annually have been stopped or prevented by citizens with guns. Conversely, 90% of violent crimes are committed by bad guys with guns, many stolen. What about the legally purchased guns used at the Sandy Hook Elementary School? Do you think that do you think the statistics demonstrate that there's any use for these laws? Are they actually going to be effective?
No, these laws aren't doing anything. And in the Sandy Hook example, the boy killed his mother. He murdered his mother, took her guns, and then shot up a school. I mean, it wasn't like he got sold the guns. He murdered her to get the guns and then they committed murder with it. No, in fact, the lowest statistic out there that I've seen is that 500,000 times a year, firearms are used to stop violent crime. Now, that doesn't mean 500,000 people have been shot. The beauty about a firearm is that just the mere act of a criminal knowing you've got one is sufficient for the criminal not to attack you. So over and over and over again, a criminal will come after a citizen, they will draw a gun, and the criminal will disappear, no shots fired, nobody going to the hospital or the morgue, and that doesn't get reported to the press. You don't hear about those, but rarely, but they happen all the time. We see this kind of thing frequently. It's the percentage of citizens stopping crime is not going to be extremely high. We're not policemen. When I carry my gun, I'm not out there trying to enforce the laws of Virginia. If I see somebody else getting into a situation, I don't have to get involved. I'm not a sworn officer. All I need to do is be a good citizen and call 911 and be a good witness to what happens. Now, if it's something affecting my life, or it is a situation where I feel I need to step in to save somebody else's life, like maybe a clear case of somebody trying to abduct a child from a parent, maybe something like that, I can legally step in anytime and help an innocent third party whose life is under threat. But that's not our mission. That's not why we carry guns. So the only time a law-abiding gun owner is going to be stopping crime is one that affects them. We're not out patrolling the streets, bad guys selling drugs, killing each other. We're not going to affect that. These laws do not do anything to lower crime, because affecting my rights, look, I've never committed a crime. I've got an absolutely perfect record. So how would taking my guns away or restricting me do anything about lowering crime? Because I'm not part of crime. It wouldn't. The only way you're going to lower crime is do something that affects criminals. And the Democrats this year did not want to do that. They had bills that would strengthen some of the penalties and go after criminal actions. They didn't want to touch that. They were interested more in going after people like me who don't commit crimes. And the only reason they'd be doing that would be if they wanted to disarm the public, as I see it. And believe me, it's got nothing to do with crime. And that's what plays into their hand. They pass gun control and they affect people like me. Crime continues on. And they go, well, that wasn't strong enough. So we need to do more stuff against people like Philip. And then the crime, and you can see it just never ends. They keep ratcheting up all that they're trying to do to stop crime, knowing that that isn't going to stop crime because I'm not a criminal. So this is a battle, not just, I mean, none of this is about saving lives from the other side. This is not about that. This is about disarming the public. And that's what you've got to understand. If you think this is about saving lives, you're going down the wrong path. And it's a path they're guiding you down, but it's a dead end path and it's not going. They're in essence saying, don't look at the man behind the curtain. Just trust me and go this direction. Don't do it. The idea is to disarm the public.
Well, thank you, Phil. I decided to include that question, even though it was a little bit skewed left, because it really brings in a lot of those talking points that can be really easily debunked with hard facts and a careful consideration of what these laws are all about. One of the things that's always blown my mind, and I hate to jump in, but these laws that they introduce, taking guns away from law-abiding citizens, they say that these are going to stop people from committing murders. But we've already got laws on the books making it illegal to commit murder. And those laws making it illegal to commit murder have much, much stricter penalties, stronger penalties. You can be thrown in jail for the rest of your life. If you violate some of these firearms laws, you get a fine, a slap on the wrist, and they might send you to jail for 30 days. So if a law stopping somebody from murdering somebody isn't enough of a deterrent with the threat of life in jail, none of these little gun laws are going to have any effect on crime statistics either. So, but thank you.
They aren't meant to. Yeah, they're meant to discourage you and I from gun ownership, because while a criminal would laugh at 30 days in jail, you and I, that would be a very, very serious thing, because we're not somebody that would fall into that. By the way, if you get gun control questions, I love answering those. So don't hesitate to put those up. It makes the conversation much more interesting. Let's look at their side and what they bring up, and let's take a logical look at it. They typically don't want to debate because they know that they don't have logic. They have emotion on their side, and emotion's a powerful thing, but logic is more powerful. And the concept, what you're saying is correct. So somebody going in to murder somebody isn't going, oh darn, but they could get me on a class 1 misdemeanor for trespass, or maybe a class 1 for brandishing. Oh no, of course not. Let me tell you something. One reason the gun laws are never going to work with criminals. I was a deputy sheriff. I've been around criminals. I've seen how they think, and I've talked to other people that know a lot about this. Criminals truly believe that they will not get caught. They believe that they're always smarter than the police, that they're going to do this, nobody's going to catch them, they're going to get away with it. And it doesn't matter if they've been caught 10 times before and have been to prison over and over and over. The next crime, they're still convinced that this time they won't get caught, that those idiot police won't catch them. That's how they think. Therefore, all this gun control, even if it had real teeth in it, they're going to ignore it and say, it doesn't matter. They're not going to catch me. That's why they commit murders and rapes and robberies, because they truly think they can get away with it. And there's no way to defeat that kind of thinking. And certainly gun laws won't do it.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Phil. This question comes from James Bliss. What's the current state of reciprocity? And I'm going to ask that you touch on both the possibility of local reciprocity pacts now that gun control has been thrown out to all the localities. Whether there's going to be any reciprocity agreements between localities, as well as our status with regard to the United States at large.
Okay. I'm glad that one was brought up. That was one of the bills that never saw the light of day. They had a bill in there that would have probably knocked back reciprocity with 25 other states, half of where we can carry, a little over half. Would have knocked out reciprocity. That bill never saw the light of day thanks to like lobby day. That all those people, they decided they didn't want to touch that third rail, and they stayed away from it. So right now the law has not changed. We honor permits from all states, and in turn we can carry in 38 other states. Localities, with this ability to make their own gun laws, they weren't allowed to make laws dealing with reciprocity. So I'm glad you asked that. And to clear it up, localities have no option on this. If the state honors permits, they have to honor permits. So we're actually in pretty good shape there. Nothing has changed. They didn't touch that third rail. They saw what happened 3 years ago when they tried to touch it, and there was a huge uproar over that. And in turn, that helped us improve the gun laws. That was under McAuliffe. We actually got better gun laws because of that, because the Democrats were that frightened of how they'd upset gun owners with trying to take away reciprocity. And by the way, let me just pause real quick. Talking about gun control, Virginia is supposedly this state, you got, such easy access to guns. The other side says, you can get guns so easily and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. When you cross in Northern Virginia, if you're up there in gun heaven, because you're in Virginia, and you cross into Washington, D.C., just across a little bridge, it's just a bridge that separates Washington, D.C., with probably the strictest gun control in the United States, from gun heaven, Virginia. The murder rate and violent crime rate goes up 8 times. If you cross into Maryland from Virginia, again, across a bridge into southern Maryland, the crime rate goes up 4 times. The murder rate and everything 4 times as high. And yet they've got tons of gun control. So I like to let the gun controllers explain to me how that's possible. Some of them say, well, they just come down to Virginia to get guns. Well, how come we aren't killing each other in massive amounts like they are in Maryland and DC? They don't have an answer to that.
This is a question from David Carmichael. Are there any indoor shooting ranges opening, notwithstanding the executive order? If not, what standing do you have in court if they are voluntarily obeying the order?
Well, we look, first of all, we don't want to force an indoor range to open. They're a private business. If they want to open, fine. If we get it to where they can open and they choose not to, that's their business. But right now, the government has preempted them and taken away their right as a private property owner to open their business. And by the way, a range would be safer than a grocery store. In a range, you have people in lanes, and they could even make it so that you can only shoot in odd numbered lanes. So you've got this big gap and usually a barrier between you and the other person. And if you've never been to an indoor range, you may not realize this, but they all have negative airflow. They have airflow sucking air away from you downrange into a filter system, and because of normally it's there to suck away the smoke from a fired shot. But in this way, it's sucking germs and everything else away from you. It's pulling it away from you, not blowing it towards people on either side of you. So a gun range is actually an indoor range would be a very safe place to be, as long, again, as you watch your social distancing generally, but any business can do that. So so we would not, I mean, if range chooses not to, they're a private business, but the ones that do open, I think are going to have a lot of people wanting to go. And we think they have to have that option. And we'll see what happens. But right now there are no ranges open, and I don't blame them. These are a business. If the state came along and yanked their business license, then even when things are back to normal, then they would be out of business. So they're stuck. I don't blame them at all. I blame the governor for this, and we need to make him accountable.
So Phil, do Walmarts have those kinds of amazing filtration systems that suck the air away from people?
No. No, they don't. Not grocery stores, not Walmart, none of this stuff.
This next question is from Rusty Ward. What about House Bill 961? If you could fill us in on what that bill is.
Well, what happened originally was they had SB 16. This was early on. This was an early bill put in before the General Assembly started, and it was an assault weapon ban. It said on July 1, any quote unquote assault rifle, which they expanded the definition, almost any semi-automatic rifle and some handguns fell under this thing. If you had one of these, if you went to bed June 30th, you were a law-abiding citizen. If you still had it July 1 when you woke up, you were in a position to be a felon. And you were to give up your guns, and there was going to be no money given to you. You just had to turn them over. They were contraband. It was as if you had grown cocaine or grown marijuana and the poppy seeds and stuff. So they saw the pushback. They saw all of these sanctuary cities. They saw 3,000 and 4,000 people showing up at a little board of supervisors meeting that would normally get 30 people. They had 4,000 showing up. They had to go into auditoriums to hold them all. They saw that. So they couldn't get rid of that hot potato fast enough, realizing they had just woken a sleeping giant and he was not happy. And so they said, this was Saslaw. Well, oh, geez, we should have had grandfathering. We should let you keep the guns if you've got them. Oh, what were we thinking? I wish I'd read my own bill better. But you're going to have to register your guns, and you can't buy any new guns. In fact, you might not even be able to fix the ones you got if they break, because every part of that gun would be considered an assault weapon. So along comes HB 961, which says you can keep your gun as long as you already had it. You can't buy any new ones, probably can't fix it, but you still have to give up your magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. Why 10? Because we got 10 fingers. If we had 12 fingers, it would have been 12 rounds. It's all baloney. So you had to give up those, no compensation. If you had a suppressor, suppressors are used in crime so rarely. It's extremely rarely. I think it was like 44 times in the whole country in a whole year, considering thousands and tens of thousands of crimes. They make a gun too long, too bulky. Criminals just don't go with them. And they're not dead silent. You can still know a gun went off. It's not so loud it hurts your hearing. But those illegal, even though you got to go through so much red tape at the federal government to get one, wait months, take photographs, fingerprints, all that, didn't matter. They wanted to ban them. So they had all this stuff in that bill. And we told our members, and I was so proud of gun owners, I said, look, it doesn't matter that we could keep our guns. Don't fall for that. Who are we to give away the gun rights of the next generation who's too young to buy a gun now and keep it? Who are we to do that? We can't do that just so we can keep our guns. That's selfish. And that's all they'll do is they'll turn around in a couple of years and say, we changed our minds. We're going to take your guns anyway. Anyhow, and now that you've registered them, thank you very much. We know exactly what guns you have and which ones to come for. That's exactly what they've done in California. And gun owners stood up. In fact, when they tried that trick, the turnouts at these sanctuary cities increased. It almost doubled. And I was so proud of gun owners. Yeah, they all get this. No, we're not giving it up. No, we're not giving you an inch. You want an inch, you're going to have to fight for every single inch. And it was wonderful. And consequently, HB 961, they carried it over to next year. Well, in practice, usually those bills don't really ever come back, even though they've been carried over. It's going to be studied by the Crime Commission. But the Crime Commission, no matter what they say, the General Assembly doesn't have to do what they say one way or the other. They can ignore it. They can do what they suggest. I think next year being an election year, they're going to be hard pressed to be putting in an assault weapon ban to remind everybody right before their election, because the whole House is up. So is Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, to remind gun owners of the treachery that they did this year. So we'll see. I'm not trusting on anything. We're going to count on the worst and hope for the best.
And when they don't introduce that bill again in a pivotal election year, we've got to all call them out for their disingenuousness and their lies about why they pushed this legislation.
It's all political. This is political, every bit of it. There is not one thing in here that isn't political. In fact, to some degree, it's just mind-boggling. One of the bills we had would have made it so that you didn't need. Actually, what it was. I'm sorry. The bill that they were going after. There were some rabbis that showed up at one of the meetings because they have a bill, and this one did pass, that says that if you have a daycare center or a preschool on your property, while that's in session, you can't have any guns. It's treated exactly like a K through 12 school, which means it's a felony if you carry a gun onto a preschool or a daycare center while it's in open. And there were rabbis coming up and going, that's the way our churches, our synagogues work. A lot of us, we have daycare there so that while we're attending synagogue, the children are learning stuff from the Bible and so forth. And we don't, and several of the members, Mr. Helms, I think is one of them, Helmer, was Jewish. And he said, well, but he just brushed the whole thing off, and he supported that bill that actually makes it now that some synagogues could become gun-free zones, which is, boy, I tell you what, there's a lot of people salivating at that thought. But he didn't seem to care. Yeah, big deal, So, and the problem with that law is, where does if you got a church and you've got a daycare there, or you've got a preschool, where does the church begin and where does it end? And where does the preschool begin and end? Where is the property line? If you're walking down the hall where there's a room on one side, if you're walking towards the church and on the left, there's a room that's got daycare in there. As you pass that room, are you now a felon? Could you be put in prison for that? Or are you fine as long as you don't go in the room? I guarantee you're not going to get an answer from that from the Attorney General. If you ask him, if they ask him, I bet you he dodges that question. There's not going to be any way to know. The one saving grace we've got in the code is that you can't be charged with that felony unless they can show that you knew that you were carrying a gun on school property or at a time when you couldn't carry it. So they're going to have to show that you knew that there was a daycare center on the property, which you may not, especially if you don't have children. It's a room, who knows where on the property, and so forth. So that would at least be a defense you would have against being charged with a felony. But this is really bad law, and it makes churches now, a lot of them go, what are we going to do for security? Well, they can do certain things if they've got the money. The law does allow them to hire certain professional security guards. Not all churches have the money for that. They can be very expensive. So again, another law that needs to be repealed. Again, the Democrats in control, they want to do stuff like this, and that's going to endanger those children. It's like they're daring somebody to come in and shoot up a daycare. I can only say that I want to believe that they wouldn't want that to happen, but the facts are there. Gun-free zones are where over 95% of these mass public shootings happen.
I mean, that's because criminals aren't going to follow a murder statute, but they're going to stop when they see that gun-free zone sign, and they're going to turn around and they're going to walk the other way. We've got one more question here. This question is from Eric Cox. He's asking, is it true the things that have come out about raising taxes on firearms and ammunition?
They tried. That was another bill. I mean, I'm going to be putting on our VA alert email system. I'm starting to write it now. I write up on all the bills this year and all the bills that people forgot about that died. And a lot of people forgot there was some really bad juju out there. And one of them was that taxes on guns and ammunition. Never saw the light of day. All right. But they was in there. They were ready to come after it. Could it be true in the future? Sure, it could. You bet. The government does have the power to tax. Now, the question is, do you tax a right? Do we have to pay a fee to the government to go to church? I don't think so. So again, what may be our saving grace is the Second Amendment. And more importantly, in Virginia, Article 1, Section 13. If you're not familiar with that one, you should look it up. that a well-regulated militia consisting of the body of the people, our version of the Second Amendment says all of us, every one of us is a part of the militia they were referring to. Trained to arms, you can't be trained to arms if you don't have guns, is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and we are the people, and it spelled it out, shall not be infringed. So they've got that barrier there, and we need to keep hitting them over the head with it.
Well, thank you, Phil, for answering these questions and providing such great insight. Now that question and answer is over, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our chairman again, Nelson Velez, to continue.
This was really a great overview about the conditions in which we find ourselves. We knew it was going to be a horror show when the election results came in. We knew that the money that poured in from the outside of the state, there was going to be an investment, a return on that investment. And we saw what that return looked like. And it was a horror show. And had they had been successful for all the things that they were trying to get, this state would be much different. And it was only because of a historic movement that's never occurred in American history, where on the aftermath of the election, the results of which brought in a new party into power, there usually is the opposite that happens. There's not an uprising, there's a honeymoon period where we are all kumbaya, we're all happy, we're holding hands, and we're hopeful. Within days, even before they got their seats warm, there was massive, every square inch of this state was rising. That's never happened before. And they were rising against the very people that are now newly elected. And this was something that was completely unexpected, completely. They figured that they had 2 or 3 months to amass their troops, get their legislation in, and then by January and February, the uprising would happen, but by then it'd be too late and they could just ramrod everything through. And they couldn't, because before they even got the fire in the fireplace warm, we were blazing from every square inch of this state. It was one of the proudest moments, and Philip Van Cleave was the heart and soul of this movement. We have so much gratitude for his work and the courage that he showed, and all the freedom movements, all the freedom groups, including the Tea Party. We saw what this implied. We saw what happened in England. We saw what happened in Australia. We saw the ease in which an incident would happen and they would remove these rights. And the only reason that that didn't happen here is because it's encoded in our birth certificate, in the Constitution. They can't get around that. But they could do a lot of damage. And because of Phil Van Cleave and the VCDL and all the other freedom groups banding together, we showed that in Virginia, the birthplace in many ways of this country, that we were not going to back down. I did want to ask you a question. I don't know if I can ask a question of Phil Van Cleave. Can I do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of freedom groups, and we are forming coalitions. Now, we work well with you. We're natural soul brothers, you and I, Phil, and we have other coalition members now working together, linking arms. And you're right, they have us outgunned. They have more ammunition than we do. They have people from other states that are very rich that are pouring money. They have very famous people that are famous for their acting prowess, crying about the loss of life and how dangerous guns are. So they have entertainment, they have education, they have money, and then they have these little nasty boys called Antifa and all these other left-wing hate groups that intimidate us into not voting or not getting into rallies. But we have each other, we have the truth, and we have eternal foundational principles that are the glue that keeps us together, because none of us are paid to put ourselves on the front line. And a lot of times we have to pay money to fund trips to want Richmond trips to our city council and away from our family. So my question is, we have the NRA, we have the Gun Owners of America, we have all these hunt clubs, we have veteran groups that are very much interested in keeping their right to bear arms. Is there a way for us to unify some of these groups to help pay for the litigation, or maybe file amicus briefs? Could the Tea Party file an amicus brief in some of the litigation that you're looking at?
Sure. And by the way, I plan to thoroughly steal your evaluation of the no honeymoon. I mean, my God, you were so right. I was laughing my tail off with the microphone muted. So right on that. That is such an important point. I can't believe I've never thought of that myself. That's absolutely beautiful, because it is what happened. It is what was so very odd. There was no honeymoon. Literally, they usually tell a couple, well, the honeymoon's over after a year or two. Their honeymoon was over in like 2 nanoseconds. I don't think the results had finished coming out and it was already over. That's incredible. That really is unusual to not see some kind of unification. It was amazing. So that's stolen. Consider that stolen. So anyhow, yeah, we absolutely can work together. And certainly when we file something, if the Tea Party wants to be a part of that, to sign on to it, we got Gun Owners of America signing on to a lot of the stuff we put in there. They're helping to fund it. Whether the Tea Party doesn't necessarily have to help to fund it at all, they could just be a part of it as a kindred spirit. Absolutely. And all these other groups. Look, we're all a big family. And even if we're liberals or Republicans, or we're black or we're white, we're Americans, we're one big family. At the end of the day, I would hope, although I know we don't, we should all at least be agreeing on certain principles, that all of our lives are valuable. Regardless of what we believe, we have a right to believe whatever it is, be it right or be it wrong in the eyes of others. But absolutely, we should all be standing together saying, no, you cannot have our guns. You just can't do it. And let's not go there. The last time somebody went there was in the 1700s, and we know how that worked out for them. So let's not do that. There's a reason the Second Amendment is there. We don't want to go anywhere near the reason that it's there. Yeah. It's not there about hunting deer. It's there about taking back the government if it goes tyrannical. And I can tell you, they're dancing around tyranny. They're dancing right around the edge of that fire, and we're praying that they walk away from it. And they can. They can just walk away. There's lots of things that can be done in America, but there's some things you don't do, and you don't mess with our lives. You don't mess with our families. So yeah, we should all stand together. This is a common bond. The other things that the Tea Party fights for will be meaningless if all of our other rights are gone. You think you'll have any leverage to do anything about taxes? I don't think so. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. And anybody that wants to do that, they can send a message, an email to president@vcdl.org. I'm easy to reach. They go straight to me. And now I'm reading my emails. I have to say, during January, I literally got over 25,000 emails that I could not read. There was no way I could read them and go about the lobby day and everything else. I'm now back to 8,000. I've gone through 17,000 emails, and I'm working. Every now and then I come across one, and just for the hell of it, I respond to it. 3 months later, somebody would ask me a question, and 3 months later, I'll give them a response just with my tongue in cheek, saying, "Oh yeah, you can bring guns outside the fence." Yeah, well, they knew that 3 months ago now. But anyhow, I'm now caught up on my emails. I'm stroking all the new stuff, and then I'm going back whenever I get a break and wiping out more of the 8,000 or so that are left. So please communicate with me, and let's do this. Yeah, we. It's not about us getting credit. Our goal is to win. It's not about us making money. It's not about us raising funds. Yeah, we need funds, but we'll spend them all, whatever it takes, because our goal, our purpose in life is to win this battle and protect a right for my family and your family and all of our families. We've got to do that.
Well, Phil, thank you. And speaking of getting current on emails, I just got current on my emails, and I found 2 more questions that came in. We've only got a couple minutes left, but I want to give the folks that submitted them a chance to have their questions heard. This question's from Bob Keeler. Is VCDL considering protest action where crowds have gathered, similar to that in Michigan and Ohio?
Right now, we're not considering, we don't have any protests lined up right now. These bills are signed into law. Our focus is going to be, as soon as the states opened up, to get people to their local government to make sure they don't pass any gun control at the local level. We're going to be pushing hard on that. We're not looking at any protests. If there are any in that sense, they'll be local across the state. Just like we did the green wave that brought us sanctuaries, we'll do another color wave that says this locality promise not to do more gun control.
Thank you. And this question's from Steve Carroll. Number one, will VCDL call for a summer lobby day before or after July 1st? He says he's ready. And number two, who can or should be targeted for removal from office in the next election, and how can VCDL members from outside of the bad guys district help remove those people in those districts?
Okay, the first one, well, no, we're not planning a lobby day in July. You know, we could end up with a rally somewhere. We could. I'm not ruling it out, but we're not, as of this second, we're not planning it at this time. The last time we had a lobby day in the summer was because there was a session in. To hold a lobby day now, the General Assembly isn't in session. They're not going to be around. Yeah, the media could cover it maybe on the news or something, but it won't be like they can look out their office and see, 50,000 people out the window. So if we do something, the other thing we might again do is do some local stuff. Because while these guys are back in their districts, let's get after them. The other question, I'm sorry, could you repeat the other question?
Sure. The question was, who can or should be targeted for removal from office in the next election? How can folks who don't live in the bad guys districts help remove them?
Yes, that's an excellent question. And the point to be made is, if you live in a bad district, and some people up in Fairfax, they've got like nobody to vote for, which is also a problem with the Republican Party, not at least putting a monkey in a suit up against some of these people. They could have got more votes because some of these people are that bad. But if you live in a bad district, there's just nothing to vote for there. You're not out of the game. Find another area in the state where somebody that's good on what you believe in is running against somebody that's bad, and send your money there. Support them. Drive out there after you vote in your own area. Drive out there to support them at the polls, to stand around and hand out flyers. Do whatever you've got to do. Make phone calls for them. So you can rally around other parts of the state and make sure that all these other good guys are elected to help counter the bad guys you're stuck with. So you're not helpless. Your money, your time, your effort can be put somewhere, but please put it somewhere. We all had better get out and work and get involved. Believe me, if I could wipe out politics, I would love it. I hate dealing with politics. You'd think I would like it. I don't. I hate it. I think most of us do. We just want to go about our lives, but we can't. That's just not the world. That's the price we pay for our liberty. We have to put up with politics. That's the price we pay. If you want your liberty, pay the price. Get active and do something. And let's turn this around.
Well, thanks, Phil. That's all the questions I got for you. So we really appreciate you taking the time to answer these questions. And I know the folks that had their questions answered really appreciate the insight and thorough responses that you've given. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me on. I've spoke to Tea Party events before. It's always a blast. I love the people there. We're all kindred spirits. It's great stuff.
Well, this was a great night, Phil. And I'm glad we were able to cobble this together. We just came up with it a few days ago. And so this was like Murphy's Law, please have mercy on us.
You did.
So thank you for coming. And Brian, thanks and Eric, thank you guys for setting this up. It turned out to be really good. We need to have kindred spirits unite and draw closer. We need to draw our ranks closer so that we can unite, be surgical in our attacks, but be fierce in being able to defend each other's flanks. So that's what I'm hoping. And we look to continue and improve and expand on this work like tonight with future events. And a heartfelt thank you for all the patriots who continue to fight for our freedoms, just as our forefathers did over 200 years ago. God bless you all, and may God's mercy keep all of you, all of us, safe from harm. So for the Tea Party, Virginia Tea Party, good night.
Good night.
Thank you all for joining this live video. We're going to do a number more of these over the next weeks. We're hoping to get one of these out every 2 weeks with a new guest expert on a variety of topics. If there's any topics that you're particularly interested in learning more about that you'd like to see us do a live video on, please feel free to drop it in the comment box below or email it to us as a suggestion. We're open to suggestions, and our goal at the end of the day is to make sure that Virginia patriots are educated about the latest movements, initiatives, and resources available to help fight to protect liberty in the Commonwealth and to stop tyranny. Everything that we do, we're a nonprofit 501c4 organization. Everything that we do is funded with the generosity of patriots like you. Now, I will say, if you were planning on donating to VCDL, go do that. They're right now leading the forefront of the pro-Second Amendment movement in Virginia, and we don't want to take any dollars that would go to VCDL in this critical time. If you have an additional $5, $10, or $15 to spare as a generous donation to the Virginia Tea Party, that money is what helps pay to put on events like this, our live events, and all the other activities and initiatives that we undertake to help protect liberty. You can donate to the Virginia Tea Party at vatp.org/donate. Again, that's vatp.org/donate. And we certainly thank you for your generosity and your kind support, especially as we work to ensure that the faithful, the patriots in Virginia, continue to hear from us, get the latest updates and information from both ourselves, experts like Phil Van Cleave of VCDL and the initiatives that they're undertaking. We thank you very much for joining this event tonight. We thank you for your questions, and God bless America. God bless you for all that you do, and have a great night. Thank you.